Heart of Veritas, From Loot to Cosmic Catastrophe. The Stolen Heart of Veritas. Chapter 1, Shadows of Doubt. The serpent's kiss hung in the inky blackness, a predator cloaked in the void. Captain Razorclaw, a Draconis whose scales shimmered with an unusual, almost melancholic, blue, paced the bridge. His reptilian eyes, usually burning with fierce determination, were clouded with a rare uncertainty. "Are you certain about this, Captain?" Xylo, the ship's strategist, a being of pure energy contained within a sophisticated containment suit, flickered nervously. Xylo's species, the Luminians, valued logic and foresight above all else, and the current operation reeked of reckless abandon. Razorclaw stopped, his heavy tail thumping lightly against the metal deck. "The intel is solid, Xylo. Councillor Theron presents a facade of benevolence, but behind closed doors, he hoards resources while entire sectors starve. The Heart of Veritas, it's enough to power a dozen colonies for a generation." "But Theron is a pillar of the Galactic Concord," protested Jira, the ship's Rodian engineer, her large eyes wide with worry. "He's respected, admired, even revered." "Revered by those who benefit from his charade," Razorclaw growled, his voice a low rumble. "The Concord turns a blind eye to the suffering of the Outer Rim. Someone needs to level the playing field." His crew knew better than to argue further. They were bound to him by a shared belief in his singular brand of justice, a chaotic, Robin Hood-esque philosophy that often landed them in the crosshairs of the galaxy's powerful. Jira returned to her console, fidgeting with the intricate systems that were about to breach Theron's seemingly impenetrable vault. Xylo, too, resumed his calculations, feeding tactical data into the ship's navigation system. The serpent's kiss shimmered, cloaking itself in a field of refracted light, rendering it virtually invisible. It slipped through the planetary defenses surrounding Theron's estate on the idyllic world of Ethelgard, a jewel of the Concord, untouched by the poverty plaguing so many other worlds. Breaching the outer perimeter, Jira announced, her fingers flying across the holographic controls. "Energy signatures are off the charts. This vault is heavily guarded." Razorclaw's eyes narrowed. "Expected. That's why we brought you, Jira." The Rodian grinned, the thrill of the challenge momentarily eclipsing her anxiety. Her expertise lay in bypassing the most sophisticated security systems, a skill honed through years of navigating the galaxy's underbelly. Inside the Serpent's Kiss's cargo bay, Kale, a towering Krogan warrior, meticulously checked his weapons. His heavy armor gleamed, reflecting the dim light. He was the ship's muscle, a walking tank whose loyalty to Razorclaw was unwavering. "Ready, Captain," Kale rumbled, his voice a guttural growl. "Good," Razorclaw said. "Remember the plan. In and out. No unnecessary bloodshed." He knew the latter was a difficult request where Kale was concerned, but the Krogan respected his orders, however reluctantly. The assault team consisted of Razorclaw, Kale, and the ship's two stealth specialists, Lyra, a graceful Twi'lek with a knack for blending into the shadows, and Nash, a diminutive but fiercely intelligent Jawa whose technical skills were second only to Jira's. They launched in a heavily shielded transport pod, the Serpent's Kiss fading back into the void, leaving them to face the heart of Theron's fortress. Chapter 2, The Vault of Secrets. The transport pod landed silently amidst a grove of bioluminescent trees near the vault's entrance, a massive obsidian door that seemed to absorb all light. The air hummed with barely perceptible energy, a testament to the powerful shields protecting the facility. "Impressive," Nash squeaked, his glowing eyes darting across the complex array of sensors and security measures. He pulled out a datapad, his nimble fingers already decrypting the first layer of defenses. Lyra melted into the shadows, her movements fluid and silent as she scouted the area, her Twi'lek Leku twitching as she scanned for patrols. Kale stood guard, his eyes narrowed, his hand resting on the grip of his massive plasma rifle. Razorclaw surveyed the scene, his senses on high alert. He could feel the weight of the complex's defenses, the subtle fluctuations in the energy fields. This was no ordinary vault, it was a fortress designed to withstand the most formidable assaults. "Nash, how long?" Razorclaw asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Almost there, Captain," the Jawa replied, his voice muffled by his hooded robe. "Just bypassing the biometric scanner, and the thermal sensors, and the phase-shifting cloaking field." He continued to rattle off the intricate security measures with an almost gleeful tone. He loved challenges, and this vault was proving to be a veritable playground for his skills. Finally, with a triumphant squeak, Nash announced, "Done. The door should open now." The obsidian door groaned, slowly sliding open to reveal a long, dimly lit corridor. The air grew colder, a stark contrast to the warm, moist air of the planet's surface. "Let's move," Razorclaw commanded, his hand resting on the hilt of his energy sword. They advanced cautiously, Lyra leading the way, her senses probing the darkness for any sign of danger. The corridor was lined with motion sensors and laser grids, all of which Lyra deftly avoided. They reached the main vault chamber, a vast, circular room dominated by a single pedestal in the center. On that pedestal rested the Heart of Veritas, a crystalline structure pulsating with an otherworldly glow. It radiated power, a raw, untamed energy that sent shivers down Razorclaw's spine. "That's it," he breathed, his eyes fixed on the prize. But as they moved closer, a series of holographic projections flickered to life, surrounding the pedestal. The image of Councillor Theron appeared, his face etched with disappointment. "I knew someone would come," Theron's holographic image said, his voice calm and measured. "I anticipated this. I only regret that it had to be you, Captain Razorclaw." Razorclaw frowned. "You were expecting us?" "I have been monitoring your activities for some time, Captain," Theron's image replied. "I admire your misguided idealism. But you fail to understand the true purpose of the Heart of Veritas." Before Razorclaw could respond, the chamber filled with automated defense turrets, each armed with energy weapons. The room erupted in a cacophony of laser fire, forcing the team to take cover. "Nash, disable the turrets!" Razorclaw shouted. The Jawa scurried to a nearby console, his fingers flying across the keys, desperately trying to override the turret's targeting system. Lyra moved with lightning speed, using her acrobatics to dodge the laser fire, creating distractions for the turrets. Kale, meanwhile, unleashed a barrage of plasma fire, destroying several of the turrets, but more kept appearing. Razorclaw saw an opening and charged towards the pedestal, his energy sword humming with power. He deflected the incoming laser fire, his movements swift and precise. He reached the pedestal and with a grunt, he wrenched the Heart of Veritas from its place. As soon as the crystalline structure was removed, the entire chamber began to shake. Alarms blared, and the holographic image of Theron flickered and died. "We need to get out of here," Razorclaw shouted. The team retreated, fighting their way back through the corridor, the turrets relentlessly pursuing them. They reached the transport pod just as the vault began to collapse around them. They launched into the air, escaping the crumbling vault just moments before it was completely destroyed. As they flew back towards the waiting Serpent's kiss, Razorclaw clutched the Heart of Veritas, its strange power filling him with a mixture of awe and unease. Chapter 3, The Unforeseen Catastrophe. Back on the Serpent's kiss, Jira meticulously examined the Heart of Veritas. She ran countless diagnostics, studying its intricate energy matrix. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. "The power output is astronomical. But I don't understand how it works. It's It's like it's drawing energy from another dimension. Razorclaw watched her, his brow furrowed. He had expected a powerful energy source, but the Heart of Veritas was something else entirely. Can you stabilize it? He asked. We need to transport it to the colony. Jira hesitated. I don't know, Captain. I can try, but I'm not sure what will happen if I tamper with it. Razorclaw sighed. He knew they were taking a risk, but they had come too far to turn back now. Do it, Jira, he said. We have to try. Jira nodded, her hands trembling slightly. She began to adjust the ship's power systems, carefully channeling energy into the Heart of Veritas. For a moment, everything seemed to be going smoothly. The crystalline structure pulsed with a steady rhythm, its energy flowing smoothly into the ship's systems. But then, without warning, the Heart of Veritas began to vibrate violently. The ship's lights flickered, and alarms blared throughout the vessel. Captain, what's happening? Xylo cried, his energy form flickering erratically. I don't know. Razorclaw shouted. Jira, what's wrong? I can't control it. Jira screamed, her voice filled with panic. It's overloading. Suddenly, the Heart of Veritas unleashed a massive surge of energy, engulfing the entire ship. The Serpent's kiss shuddered violently, its shields failing under the immense strain. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the surge stopped. The Heart of Veritas went silent, its crystalline structure dimming. The ship's lights flickered back on, and the alarm ceased. The Serpent's kiss drifted silently in space, its crew shaken but unharmed. What just happened? Kale asked, his voice low with awe. I don't know, Razorclaw said, his voice barely above a whisper. But I have a feeling we're about to find out. As if on cue, a message flashed across the ship's comm system. It was a distress signal from a nearby planet, a member world of the Galactic Concord. Massive energy fluctuations, system-wide blackouts, environmental collapse. The message crackled before it was cut off. Razorclaw's blood ran cold. He exchanged a look with Xylo, and both of them knew the truth. The Heart of Veritas wasn't just a power source, it was something far more important. And by stealing it, they had triggered a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. Chapter 4, The Weight of Guilt. The Serpent's kiss raced towards the distressed planet, known as Alicia, a once thriving agricultural world now plunged into chaos. As they entered the atmosphere, the sight that greeted them was horrifying. Cities lay in darkness, their power grids completely shut down. Factories were silent, their production lines at a standstill. Fields were barren, the crops withered and dying. The sky was filled with smoke and ash, the result of massive wildfires that raged unchecked. This is terrible, Lyra whispered, her face pale with shock. Razorclaw felt a wave of guilt wash over him. He had intended to help the oppressed, to bring power to the powerless. Instead, he had unleashed a disaster that was crippling an entire planet. What have we done? He muttered, his voice filled with despair. They landed near a makeshift refugee camp outside the capital city, a sprawling tent city filled with desperate and hungry people. The atmosphere was thick with fear and despair. Razorclaw approached a group of survivors, his heart heavy with remorse. I am Captain Razorclaw, he said, his voice low. I am here to help. The survivors looked at him with suspicion and resentment. They had heard rumors of pirates and raiders preying on the weak. Pirates, one of them spat. You're just here to scavenge what's left. No, Razorclaw said, his voice firm. We are not here to steal. We are here to help you rebuild. He explained his mission, his desire to repurpose the Heart of Veritas to help the needy. He didn't mention the theft, not yet. He just offered aid. At first, they were skeptical, but Razorclaw's sincerity and the genuine concern in his eyes eventually won them over. He and his crew worked tirelessly, distributing food and water, providing medical care, and helping to restore power to the refugee camp. They learned that the blackouts were not limited to Alicia. They were affecting hundreds of planets across the galaxy, all connected to a vast energy grid that was now destabilizing. The Concord was in chaos, struggling to contain the damage. The Heart of Veritas, Xylo said, his voice grim. It wasn't just a power source. It was the keystone of the entire grid. Razorclaw realized the full extent of his mistake. He hadn't just stolen a treasure, he had threatened the stability of the entire galaxy. He knew he had to do something. He had to fix what he had broken. But how? He couldn't simply return the Heart of Veritas to Theron. He would be branded a thief and a terrorist, and his crew would be hunted down and destroyed. He had to find another way. Xylo, he said, his voice filled with determination. I need you to gather all the information you can about the energy grid. Find out how it works, how it's connected, and how we can stabilize it without the Heart of Veritas. Xylo nodded, his energy form flickering with renewed purpose. He knew this was a long shot, but he believed in Razorclaw. He believed that he could find a way to undo the damage they had caused. As Xylo delved into the complexities of the energy grid, Razorclaw turned his attention to another problem, the source of the faulty intel that had led them to steal the Heart of Veritas in the first place. He tasked Lyra with uncovering the conspirators behind the frame-up, knowing that they were the key to unraveling this entire mess. Chapter 5, The Syndicate of Whispers. Lyra, with her unparalleled stealth skills, began to infiltrate the underworld of the Galactic Concord, seeking information about the source of the intel that had led Razorclaw to target Councillor Theron. She moved through the shadows, gathering whispers and rumors, piecing together the puzzle of the conspiracy. It wasn't long before she stumbled upon a name, the Syndicate of Whispers, a shadowy organization known for its manipulation, extortion, and assassinations. They were the masters of misinformation, the puppet masters behind countless conflicts and power struggles throughout the galaxy. They're ruthless, Captain, Lyra reported. They operate in the shadows, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. They're not afraid to kill anyone who gets in their way. Razorclaw felt a surge of anger. He had been manipulated, used as a pawn in their twisted game. He vowed to make them pay. Lyra discovered that the Syndicate had fed Razorclaw the fabricated intel about Theron's corruption, knowing that he would be tempted to steal the Heart of Veritas. They had orchestrated the entire scenario, hoping to destabilize the Concord and seize power for themselves. They wanted chaos, Captain, Lyra said. And they got it. Razorclaw knew he had to expose the Syndicate and bring them to justice. But they were powerful and well protected. He couldn't simply attack them head-on. He needed a plan. He turned to Nash, the Jawa engineer, for help. He needed Nash to infiltrate the Syndicate's computer network and gather evidence of their crimes. Can you do it, Nash? Razorclaw asked. The Jawa squeaked excitedly. Of course, Captain. This will be fun. Nash, with his mastery of computers and his ability to bypass even the most sophisticated security systems, began to hack into the Syndicate's network. He moved through the digital landscape like a ghost, leaving no trace of his presence. It wasn't long before he found what he was looking for, a vast database containing records of the Syndicate's activities, including their involvement in the frame-up of Councillor Theron and their plans to exploit the chaos caused by the energy grid failure. I have it, Captain. Nash squealed. The proof we need. Razorclaw smiled grimly. He now had the evidence to expose the Syndicate and clear his name. But he also knew that the Syndicate wouldn't let him get away with it easily. They would come after him, and they would stop at nothing to silence him. Chapter 6, An Unlikely Alliance. Knowing he was now a target, Razorclaw prepared for a confrontation with the Syndicate. He fortified the Serpent's Kiss, upgraded its shields and weapons, and drilled his crew in combat maneuvers. He knew they were outnumbered and outgunned, but he refused to back down. "We will not be intimidated by these thugs," he declared. "We will fight them and expose their crimes to the galaxy." But Razorclaw also knew that he couldn't win this fight alone. He needed allies, powerful allies who could stand against the Syndicate and help him restore order to the galaxy. He considered his options carefully. He could ask for help from the Galactic Concord, but he knew they would be hesitant to trust him, given his theft of the Heart of Veritas. Then, he realized there was only one person he could turn to, Councillor Theron. It was a risky move, but he had no choice. He had to convince Theron that he had been manipulated by the Syndicate and that he was now determined to make amends for his mistake. Razorclaw contacted Theron, requesting a meeting. To his surprise, Theron agreed. They met on a neutral planet, a remote and sparsely populated world far from the reach of the Syndicate. Theron arrived with a small security detachment, his face etched with weariness and disappointment. "Captain Razorclaw," Theron said, his voice cold. "I must admit, I am surprised you had the audacity to contact me after what you have done." "Councillor Theron," Razorclaw replied, his voice sincere. "I understand your anger and mistrust. But I swear to you, I never intended to cause this chaos. I was misled by the Syndicate of Whispers. They framed you, and they used me to steal the Heart of Veritas." He presented Theron with the evidence he had gathered, the records proving the Syndicate's involvement in the conspiracy. Theron listened intently, his expression slowly changing from anger to disbelief. After examining the evidence, Theron sighed. "I confess, I had underestimated the depth of their depravity," he said. "It seems I was not the only one they deceived." "Will you help us, Counselor?" Razorclaw asked. "Will you help us expose the Syndicate and restore order to the galaxy?" Theron hesitated. "I am not sure I can trust you completely, Captain," he said. "But I cannot deny the evidence before me. The Syndicate is a threat to us all. I will work with you, but know this, if you betray my trust again, I will not hesitate to bring you to justice." Razorclaw nodded. "I understand, Counselor. I give you my word. We will work together to defeat the Syndicate." With the uneasy alliance forged, Razorclaw and Theron began to plan their next move. They knew that the Syndicate would be expecting them to attack, so they had to be clever and unpredictable. Chapter 7, The Data Heist. Their plan was audacious. They would infiltrate the Syndicate's headquarters, a heavily guarded fortress on a lawless planet, and steal their master database, exposing their crimes to the entire galaxy. Razorclaw and his crew, along with Theron and his security team, launched a coordinated assault on the fortress. They used a combination of stealth and brute force, bypassing the outer defenses and breaching the inner sanctum. Lyra and Nash led the way, their skills proving invaluable in navigating the complex security systems. Kale and Theron's security team provided the muscle, engaging the Syndicate's guards in fierce firefights. Razorclaw and Theron worked together, strategizing and coordinating the attack. They were an unlikely pair, but they shared a common goal, to defeat the Syndicate and restore order to the galaxy. They reached the data core, the heart of the Syndicate's operations. It was a massive server room filled with rows upon rows of computers, all humming with power. "Nash, can you access the database?" Razorclaw asked. "Almost there, Captain." Nash squeaked, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Just bypassing the encryption, and the firewalls, and the virus protection." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the fortress. The Syndicate had detected their presence. "We've been discovered," Theron shouted. "We need to get out of here." "Not yet," Razorclaw said. "Nash is almost done." The Syndicate's forces converged on the server room, unleashing a barrage of laser fire. Kale and Theron's security team fought valiantly, holding off the attackers, but they were outnumbered. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, Nash announced, "I have it. I've downloaded the entire database." "Let's go," Razorclaw shouted. They retreated, fighting their way back through the fortress, the Syndicate's forces hot on their heels. They reached their transport ships just as the fortress began to collapse around them. They launched into space, escaping the destruction just moments before it was completely obliterated. Chapter 8, Exposing the Truth. With the Syndicate's database in their possession, Razorclaw and Theron prepared to expose their crimes to the galaxy. They uploaded the database to the Galactic Concord's public network, making it accessible to everyone. The response was immediate and overwhelming. News of the Syndicate's crimes spread like wildfire, shocking and angering the citizens of the Concord. Planets rose up in rebellion, overthrowing the Syndicate's puppet governments. The Concord police launched a massive manhunt, tracking down and arresting the Syndicate's leaders and agents. The Syndicate of Whispers, once a shadowy force of manipulation and control, was brought to its knees. Its power was broken, its influence shattered. But the fight wasn't over yet. The energy grid was still destabilized, and countless planets were still suffering from blackouts and environmental damage. Razorclaw and Theron knew they had to find a way to restore the grid, to bring power back to the powerless. They turned to Xylo, who had been working tirelessly to understand the complexities of the energy grid. He had discovered that the Heart of Veritas was not simply a power source, but a key that resonated with the very fabric of spacetime. It acted as a conduit, drawing energy from a parallel dimension and distributing it throughout the grid. "We need to find a way to replicate the Heart's function," Xylo said. "We need to find another way to connect to that parallel dimension." He proposed a daring plan. They would travel to the source of the energy grid, a hidden nexus point located in a remote and unexplored region of space. There, they would attempt to create a new conduit, a new Heart of Veritas. Chapter 9, Journey to the Nexus. The Serpent's Kiss, accompanied by Theron's flagship, embarked on a perilous journey to the hidden nexus. They navigated treacherous asteroid fields, evaded hostile alien civilizations, and braved the unknown dangers of uncharted space. Along the way, they encountered other worlds affected by the energy crisis, offering them aid and support. Razorclaw's reputation began to change. He was no longer seen as a pirate and a thief, but as a hero, a symbol of hope in a galaxy plunged into darkness. Finally, after weeks of traveling, they reached the Nexus, a swirling vortex of energy and light located at the edge of known space. It was a place of immense power, a gateway to another dimension. "This is it," Xylo said, his energy form flickering with anticipation. "This is where we can create a new Heart of Veritas." They carefully maneuvered their ships into the vortex, navigating the turbulent currents of energy. They reached the Nexus Point, a small island of calm at the center of the storm. There, they began to construct a new conduit, using all the technology and resources they had at their disposal. It was a delicate and dangerous process, requiring precision and skill. Jira worked tirelessly, fine-tuning the energy matrix, ensuring that it resonated with the parallel dimension. Nash helped her, his technical expertise proving invaluable. Xylo guided them, using his knowledge of physics and metaphysics to shape the energy flow. Razorclaw and Theron oversaw the operation, providing support and encouragement. They knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Chapter 10, The Heart Restored. After days of intense work, the new conduit was finally complete. It was a beautiful structure, shimmering with otherworldly light, a testament to their ingenuity and determination. "It's ready," Xylo announced, his voice filled with excitement. "We can activate it now." They activated the conduit, channeling energy into it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the conduit began to vibrate, its light intensifying. A beam of energy shot out of the conduit, piercing the veil between dimensions. It connected to the parallel dimension, drawing energy from its infinite source. The energy grid began to stabilize. Blackout ceased, and power returned to the affected planets. The environmental damage began to heal, the skies clearing, the fields turning green once more. The galaxy was saved. Razorclaw and Theron watched in awe as the energy flowed through the grid, restoring balance and harmony. They had done it. They had overcome the odds and restored the Heart of Veritas, not as a stolen treasure, but as a beacon of hope. The success was bittersweet for Razorclaw. He knew that he would always be remembered for the initial theft, but he hoped that he would also be recognized for his efforts to correct his mistake. Theron turned to Razorclaw, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You have proven yourself, Captain," he said. "You have shown that even the most misguided actions can be redeemed. You have saved the galaxy." "We all did, Councillor," Razorclaw replied, looking at his crew, at Theron's crew, at all the faces that had worked so hard to achieve this impossible feat. Epilogue. The Serpent's kiss, its reputation forever changed, continued to sail the galaxy, no longer as a pirate ship, but as a vessel of hope and justice. Razorclaw still followed his own brand of fairness, but now he did so with the full weight of experience and the knowledge that even the best intentions could have disastrous consequences. He continued to work with Councillor Theron, forging a strong alliance based on mutual respect and a shared commitment to the well-being of the galaxy. Together, they fought against corruption, injustice, and oppression, ensuring that the lessons of the Heart of Veritas were never forgotten. The Syndicate of Whispers was dismantled, its remnants scattered to the far corners of the galaxy. But the memory of their crimes served as a warning, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of truth and justice. The Heart of Veritas, in its new form, continued to pulse, providing energy and stability to the galaxy. It was a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of redemption.